Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Global Forbidden Land. Only I contract Konoha Genin. Chapter 51. Immediately, the entire examination venue became extremely quiet. They stared dumbfounded at the young man in combat uniform in front of them. 3,000. What kind of concept is this? Even Genos is only a few hundred. Although Genos didn't use his full strength, it should not be underestimated. At least the S rank has stabilized. The examiner still had a look of horror on his face. Rao is someone who he has seen so many people who come to take the hero test, but who can have the terrifying strength of Suyu. That's very few. The heroes who can reach this level are all among the top 10 existences in the S rank. The examiner looked at Suyu and was shocked. He suddenly had a feeling. Perhaps, in this hero exam, there will be an existence like a dark horse. And this dark horse is Suyu. A person who didn't have any fame before. The examiner suppressed his shock, but his arms still trembled uncontrollably. Tremblingly, under Suyu's name, I wrote an S grade, and then felt a little inappropriate, and then wrote A. Top 10 potential. After all this was done, the examiner breathed a sigh of relief. The gaze towards Suyu couldn't help becoming hot. Such talents are rare. If there are more heroes like Suyu appearing, the attacks of those monsters will become less important. Not only the examiners were shocked, but even those who screamed for the exam couldn't help but start to have dry mouths. This kind of strength simply makes them daunting. Saitama is still watching flatly. After all, he has already surpassed the limit. On the contrary, Genos looked at Suyu with a fiery look. As expected of a senior brother, it is really not that simple to become a disciple of Saitama teacher. I am still far behind. Unknowingly, in Genos' mind, Suyu has been ranked after Saitama. Of course, Suyu doesn't know all of this. At this moment, Suyu is looking at the progress bar that has skyrocketed by a few points on the attribute bar that only he can see. Wei thought about it. There is such a good thing. The progress bar has directly increased by 3 points. Didn't it mean that after completing all the exams, I might be able to directly increase the progress bar to 20? Suyu's expression began to become surprised. The more progress bars there are, and the faster I can rely on this ability, the faster I can improve. This, of course, is a good thing. Afterwards, Suyu set a goal in his heart. In the next series of exams, you must break the record. Suyu was overjoyed, and then came to Saitama's side. Let's go, join the next one. The three came to the second venue. This time the assessment was a 1,500-meter sprint. In fact, this kind of sprinting is very unnecessary for Suyu and the others. Physical fitness has reached their level. 1,500 meters is only a few seconds. In particular, Suyu also copied Sonic's speed, which surpassed the speed of sound. 1 second is a distance of hundreds of meters. 1,500 meters is only 3 or 4 seconds. If the fifth gate is turned on, Suyu's speed can even be faster. However, Suyu has made up his mind to break the record. After all, that can increase the progress bar. So Suyu is not prepared to have any hidden clumsiness. Soon, it was Suyu's turn. Although the examiner was not alone this time, from the news from the previous examiner, this examiner still paid special attention to Genos and Suyu. After all, both of them have the strength of S-class heroes. As for Saitama, although there was some level in the first exam, it was compared with the two. Naturally, it was ignored by the examiner. That is, Saitama doesn't care about these things. No matter how fast Suyu is, it is impossible to surpass Saitama's. Then, the three stood on the starting line. Genos stared at Suyu with serious eyes, and the mechanical ejector behind him exploded with fiery fluctuations. The blue light continuously burst out on the injector. There was a burst of roar. Genos looked at Suyu seriously, and said in a concentrated voice. Brother, I'm going to do my best. Suyu didn't take Genos's words seriously. This guy's speed is not as fast as Sonic's. After all, Sonic's speed can suppress Genos. In addition, his own speed can even surpass Sonic's. But on the surface, Suyu still responded with a smile. Only Saitama was digging his nostrils aside, not paying attention to anything. Suddenly, there were bursts of piercing mechanical sounds. Test. Start instantly. Genos frantically pushed his engine, and a terrifying roar erupted, and the white airflow set off waves of storms. In an instant, a long distance was opened. The speed was so fast that even the examiner could only see afterimages. In just 1 second, he sprinted a distance of 200 meters. But Su Yu directly opened the fifth gate. Doomin. Sharingan shook wildly. Sonic's speed is blessed by Su Yu. For a moment, there seemed to be a sonic boom. Immediately afterwards, within a second, Su Yu's body had reached a position of 400 to 500 meters. Directly opened a long distance with Genos. Saitama also started to run, but obviously this guy didn't pay much attention to it, he just moved forward at a speed of tens of meters per second. Su Yu's frightening speed set off waves of air, opening a hideous crack in the floor. In just 3 seconds, Su Yu has reached the finish line. After a few more seconds, Genos finally arrived. Last but not least is Saitama. Genos took a deep look at Su Yu, his eyes became more determined. But Su Yu's gaze stayed on the attribute bar. And the progress bar above has increased again. 19%. It's only a little bit short, and it can reach the 20% level. Is this the speed that humans can have? The examiner of the second test said tremblingly. 15 meters, just 3 seconds. It's just too scary. This made the examiner couldn't help thinking of a person. Flash flash. The 13th ranked S-level hero could easily kill 2 dragon-level monsters in seconds. Perhaps, only that person's speed can compete with Su Yu. The examiner couldn't help swallowing, feeling that his arms were shaking when he drank the water. During today's assessment, a character appeared who surprised everyone. Compared to Genos, who is valued by the superior, Su Yu is obviously stronger. The examiner couldn't help but secretly took out his mobile phone, and then released Su Yu's information to his senior management. He had a premonition that among the future S-level heroes, Su Yu would definitely rank among the top 10. Even in the top 10, Su Yu can be in the forefront. Such existences are the most powerful people in the entire earth. Horrible. Compared with Su Yu, the existence of Genos seems a little unimportant. On one side, Genos stared at Su Yu, the jet behind him was still steaming. Even if the power has been turned to the maximum, it is still not Su Yu's opponent. At this moment, Genos lost the challenge to Su Yu. But even if he lost, it didn't affect Genos' confidence in wanting to surpass Su Yu. Only the strong can inspire a stronger momentum in Genos' heart. Su Yu clapped his palms and said with a smile. Going. Next round. Saitama didn't object and walked towards the next round. Genos quietly came to Su Yu's side, and said seriously. Senior brother's speed, I can't match it, but in the next round of power, I must surpass senior brother. Facing the stunned Genos, Su Yu just shrugged his shoulders. Su Yu is very clear about Genos' aloofness. In his previous life, Janos was very popular. Then the three of them entered the third level of the exam. In front of everyone, there is a huge machine on display. An examinee stepped forward, the muscles on his body wriggling continuously. Then burst into a drink. Immediately afterwards, he used all his strength and smashed directly on the machine. Boom. Accompanied by bursts of roar. The machine showed the strength of the man. 300 kilograms. This kind of strength is already quite good, at least on the qualifying line. That person also showed a smile. Soon, it was Saitama's turn. Saitama looked at the machine curiously. He waved his fist lightly, without using any strength. But when it hit the machine, it directly smashed out a force of 10,000 kilograms. Even the chief examiner was taken aback by Saitama's power. Looking at Saitama's previous results, he showed a look of pity. It's a pity, if the previous checkpoints can be better, they can be ranked in the B rank. Then a C+ word was written on Saitama's name. Then, it was Genos who stepped forward. The mechanical arm was raised suddenly, and the orange energy light shone on the perfect metal arm. It was even more like a flame gushing out from Janos' arm. There was a burst of roar. Even the surrounding air was shattered abruptly by this force and turned into a vacuum. Boom. The terrifying power was vented on it, and then I saw that the numbers on the machine were constantly beating. Saitama's power was quickly surpassed. Finally, at the value of 40,000 kilograms, it stopped. The chief examiner couldn't help but nodded. This kind of achievement, coupled with Gino's previous achievements to become an S-level hero, is quite appropriate. It is indeed a talent that is valued by the higher-ups. Then, it was Su Yu's turn. The moment Su Yu walked out, everyone couldn't help looking at Su Yu. You know, Su Yu's previous performance directly broke 2 records. The examiner's eyes narrowed slightly, he stared at Su Yu and murmured. The record for the hero assessment is 90,000 kilogram. I wonder if you can break this record again. If you can even break through this, you will definitely have a place in the top 10 S-level heroes. Genos looked at Su Yu deeply, paying attention to Su Yu's every move. This time, brother, what kind of achievements can you create? Compared to his own grades, it was obvious that Genos was more concerned about Su Yu's grades. After all, Su Yu is the character Genos wants to surpass. Su Yu looked at the machine in front of him and took a deep breath. Fist slowly raised. There were waves of violent air waves under his feet. The floor shattered in an instant, and the whole person revealed an indomitable momentum. Under this momentum, many people felt a sense of oppression. For a moment, Sharingan spins wildly. 8 inner gates du door, open instantly. The breath of the sun directly supported Su Yu's fist. Ong buzz. There seemed to be a burst of humming in the surrounding space. It seems that some can't bear it. Sudden, Su Yu's body moved. The whole person leaned forward slightly, and his fist suddenly aimed at the strength testing machine. Then, drop. Boom boom boom. Accompanied by bursts of roaring explosions, it was like a thunderbolt exploding in the venue, and bursts of gunpowder smoke filled the entire examination room. Everyone's vision is blocked. Ahem, cough, what a terrifying power. Yeah, I don't know if he can still break the record. Many people, looking in the direction of the strength testing machine, couldn't help but start discussing. Gradually, the gunpowder smoke began to dissipate bit by bit. What I saw was that Su Yu stood quietly on the spot, with Su Yu as the center, the ground instantly split open. In front of Su Yu, the strength testing machine exploded into pieces of scrap metal. Under Su Yu's fist, the strength test machine was blown up. In other words, Su Yu's strength has already surpassed the limit that the strength testing machine can withstand. More than 100,000 kilograms. Everyone's eyes couldn't help but shake. FK. Is this F-King something a human can do? I feel that even a dragon-level monster may not have such terrifying power. TCH. You think of dragon-level monsters too simply, but to be honest, some dragon-level monsters are really not that powerful. Hiss. Who is this person? Why have I never heard of it before? I don't know, it seems to have popped up out of nowhere. Many candidates screaming for the exam, talking about it. Blow up a strength testing machine with one punch. What does this represent? This explains. Su Yu's strength has already surpassed what the strength testing machine can bear. All the heroes present may not be able to achieve such a terrifying power. Hey, it's hard for this person to be recognized as an S-class hero. Some people said in horror. It would be too terrifying to be directly recognized as an S-class hero after just one exam. After all, such people, even in the entire history of the Heroes Association, are very few. And those people all had very strong records before. But Su Yu, before taking the exam this time, he was still an unknown junior. And now, Su Yu's results have obviously stunned many candidates. It's amazing. Saitama also looked at Su Yu in surprise. Su Yu-jun, so you are so powerful. Su Yu slowly walked out of the gunpowder, looked at Saitama with a smile, and said. Compared with the teacher, it is still far behind. Hey, Mr. Su Yu is very powerful. Saitama waved his hand and said with a smile. Genos on the side stared at Su Yu firmly. Even if he was a robot, he watched Su Yu's previous punch. All the parts seemed to be making noises. Obviously, Genos has been stunned by Su Yu's fighting power. But after being stunned, Genos became more determined. Must beat Su Yu. The chief examiner looked at the scrapped strength testing machine, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help twitching slightly. This machine is very expensive. But the examiner was still shocked by Su Yu's power. It's just that Su Yu's power is too terrifying. With a strength of more than 100,000 kilograms, it is a proper S-rank level. Generally speaking, being able to kill dragon-level monsters is already considered an S-level level. Although among the S-level monsters, there are still some people who are stronger than dragon-level monsters. But the minimum passing line for the S-class is that much. Looking at Su Yu's form in his hand, the examiner, without the slightest hesitation, directly typed a big S grade on it. Still without the slightest hesitation, the three continued to walk towards the next project. There are shot put, high jump, and weightlifting in the back. However, compared with the previous three, the difficulty of these three is easy. However, Su Yu is different. This time, Su Yu did it entirely to break all the records. After all, this can increase the progress bar. If the progress bar reaches more than 30, Su Yu can confidently break through to the level of a 6-star warrior within a month. At that time, relying on the 8 inner gates, Su Yu can even be in a short period of time reach the combat power of a 7-star warrior. If we say that there is a big difference between 4 stars and 5 stars, then at the level of the 7-star warrior, there is a world of difference. You know, even the president of Yangcheng University, Li Yeshan, is nothing more than a 7-star warrior. When you reach 7 stars, you can be called a master. And the meaning of the word, Grand Master, is self-evident. That is very valuable. So, if you can go out and have the strength of a 7-star warrior, then it is obviously extremely powerful. In this regard, Su Yu is also determined to win. Soon, the three came to the position of throwing the shot put. The space here is larger than any other venue. There is a huge screen at the place where the shot put is thrown, and candidates only need to throw the shot put towards the screen, and after hitting the screen, they can know how far away they are. It is similar to the previous strength testing machine. In front of the three, there is a person who has already started. All I saw was that he picked up the shot put and threw it towards the screen. Soon, a numerical value appeared on the screen. 700 meters. In other words, this person's score is 700 meters. And 700 meters has surpassed ordinary people. Already at the level of a hero. Very powerful. However, after the three of Su Yu arrived, the examiner glanced at the three of them, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Although not in the same examination room, the news that Su Yu smashed the test machine with one punch spread quickly. Without the slightest hesitation, the examiner spoke softly to the people around him. Soon, it was Su Yu and the three of them started. Saitama is still in front. Saitama still didn't exert much effort, just throwing it casually. It was a distance of 2 kilometers. Even though Janos tried his best, the distance was only about 10 kilometers. However, such a result is already very strong. When we arrived at Su Yu, a staff member signaled Su Yu to wait. Then I saw that several staff members installed something on the screen. At this time, a person smiled and said to Su Yu, "Mr. Su Yu, hesitantly, your strength is extremely powerful, so we temporarily decided to strengthen the limit of the machine, so you have no problem." The corner of Su Yu's mouth twitched, and then he nodded. Picking up the shot put, his eyes narrowed slightly. Looking at the enhanced machine, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. I really thought, if I strengthened, I couldn't break the limit. However, even if it is strengthened, he can break the record. But at this time, the candidates around him started talking directly. I remember the highest record for throwing a shot put, it seems to be 30 kilometers, and that one seems to be an S-class hero now. What does it seem to be called? Blasting. Hiss, is that Blast who ranks number 1 among S-class heroes? Everyone couldn't help but gasped. Explosion, that is the number 1 existence among the S ranks. Such an existence is the most powerful person on the entire Earth. Of course, Saitama doesn't count. But the explosion is also extremely powerful. That is the man who founded the ninja village. He is the man who trained Sonic and Sonic Flash. He was the man who made Tornado a hero. It is obviously difficult to break the record of such a person. Although the blasting at that time was not as powerful as it is now, the blasting at that time also had the strength of S rank. Everyone's eyes fell on Su Yu one after another. They seemed to want to see a man who performed miracles appear. Su Yu took a deep breath, and the white air flow slowly blew out. Then, he bent his knees slightly, and then suddenly threw it towards the screen. Boom! The shot put and the screen collided with each other and exploded instantly. That is to say, the screen has been strengthened, otherwise, the entire screen will be blown to pieces. However, the shot put was also blown into powder in an instant under the terrifying force. In the eyes of everyone, the numbers on the screen began to jump continuously. In just one breath, the speed directly exceeded the distance of 10 kilometers. Moreover, the distance is still increasing and has not weakened. Soon, the number on the screen had reached 20 kilometers. Hiss, no way, is it really going to break the record of blasting? Isn't this person even expected to surpass blast in the future? Many candidates began to discuss uncontrollably. Really, Su Yu's performance was too shocking. Not only did the results of each assessment meet the standard of an S-class hero, but they also broke 3 records in a row. Moreover, judging from the reaction of the current number, maybe even this 4th assessment can break the record. Horrible. The examiner of this level couldn't help but wipe the sweat off his face. On the top, huge sweat dripped out continuously. This is the reaction after being shocked by Su Yu. He has been assessed here for many years, but someone like Su Yu has never appeared. After all the assessment records are from different people, and it is very difficult to break several records in a row. You know, even if it is a blast, it is just 1 or 2 records. Horrible. To be honest, watching Su Yu's assessment today is more exciting than watching an S-level hero fight a dragon-level monster. Really not bad. Saitama still didn't respond, just smiled and congratulated Su Yu. Genos is still so aloof. Even Su Yu, who has already broken the record, just added some Genos impulse to improve his strength. Afterwards, the 3 of them came to the next test site. High jump. The high jump record, Su Yu gave up directly. Although I am physically strong, the record of the high jump was created by the tornado. That one can defy gravity. No matter how strong Su Yu is, he can't fly now. Unless Su Yu copied the ability of the tornado, or became a 7-star grandmaster. Otherwise, it would be more difficult to step into the air. But Su Yu's results are still very strong. The jumping ability of hundreds of meters still made many examiners and candidates gasp. In weightlifting later, Su Yu also successfully broke the record. At this point, the physical fitness test is all over. And Su Yu looked at the progress bar in his property bar. The progress bar for breaking the limit ability has already reached nearly 27%. It was only 3 points away from breaking through 30. Seeing this, Su Yu couldn't help clenching his fists. Very good. When the time comes to kill some monsters, or challenge some heroes, you should be able to break through 30. Breaking through 30, Su Yu's improvement speed can be greatly increased, which is simply not too cool. Afterwards, there should have been a written test for the hero examination, but Su Yu was directly called by the high level of the Hero Association. It's called an interview. For this interview, in Su Yu's mind, it was naturally very clear. These high-level officials of the Heroes Association are really out of their minds when they talk like this. After all, even Saitama's ability can't be seen. The previous Genos should also be subject to this so-called interview, but obviously, this time, Su Yu who appeared out of thin air attracted their attention even more. Therefore, even Genos put it aside for the time being. The highest level of the Heroes Association branch. In an office. Inside, several people were already seated. They were dressed in suits and leather shoes, looking at the young man in combat uniform with shining eyes. The young man sat quietly on the chair, not very upright, just looking at them lightly. Su Yu, right, we need to know about some things. Among the few people, there is a middle-aged man with a smile on his face, wearing a pair of glasses, looking very gentle. Su Yu glanced at it lightly, and then said, "Whatever, tell me, I know, I will tell you all." The middle-aged man gently pushed his glasses. Then he said with a smile, "Okay, let's get straight to the point." Then, the middle-aged man took out a picture from his hand. And the picture above is the appearance of the House of Evolution that was destroyed by Genos. Seeing which ruins looked like, Su Yu immediately understood. These guys, it turned out that they mistook Genos' operation for themselves. Sure enough, I heard the middle-aged man say later. Those guys in the House of Evolution, our Hero Association has actually noticed it a long time ago, but since there are not many heroes, we haven't dealt with it and are just monitoring it. And during our surveillance, we discovered the existence of the three of you. As he said that, the middle-aged man took out another photo, and in that photo, there were Tsuyu, Saitama, and Janos. There was a hint of a smile on the corner of the middle-aged man's mouth. We know the Ashura unicorn from the House of Evolution. It has the strength of a dragon, and our S-level heroes are not here. So it's very dangerous, but your appearance has solved the Ashura unicorn fairy. Very nice. Hearing the middle-aged man's praise, Tsuyu's heart did not stir up the slightest disturbance, and he continued to watch calmly. The eyes of the middle-aged man and Tsuyu collided. I couldn't help but my pupils trembled. He actually felt a tremor in Tsuyu's eyes. This trembling comes from the depths of my soul. Tsuyu said lightly. You can think what you want. But, the corners of Tsuyu's mouth curled up slightly. The one-horned fairy, I did kill it. There is no doubt about it. The face of the middle-aged man paused. He didn't expect Tsuyu to admit it so quickly. Ordinary people should shirk it a bit, so as to appear a little more humble. But Tsuyu is different, although the surface looks extremely peaceful. But the middle-aged man still felt the youth's pride from the bottom of his bones from Tsuyu's words. The middle-aged man regained his smile. S-level heroes should indeed have their own personality, and besides, this personality is not a bad thing. Then I picked up Tsuyu's information and looked at it. Putting down the documents, looking at Tsuyu, he said with a smile. Glad that Mr. Tsuyu can join the Heroes Association. As he spoke, he stretched out his palm. Tsuyu didn't refuse either, and shook hands with the middle-aged man. Afterwards, Tsuyu walked out of the conference hall straight away. A few people in suits and leather shoes watched Tsuyu go out, and then there were bursts of discussions. This Tsuyu should indeed have the strength of an S-level hero, but the question is, where should he be ranked? A person asked a question. Aroused the voices of many people. Yeah, what should Tsuyu's rank be? After all, Tsuyu's record is really too little. Even if he killed the Ashura unicorn, among the S-level heroes, there are quite a few who can kill dragon-level monsters. Besides, Ashura unicorn is not a very powerful character among dragon-level monsters. If the ranking is low, it will cause Tsuyu's dissatisfaction. To be honest, this ranking is really a bit mind-boggling. Some even started to get distressed. Although the current heroes are extremely peaceful, they are very clear that this hero is extremely arrogant, especially those S-level heroes, who still value their own rankings. Once his ranking is lowered, he doesn't know how much trouble he will cause. The middle-aged man pushed his glasses, the corners of his mouth slightly turned up, looking at the direction Tsuyu left, and said calmly. In that case, let's just rank 10th. This sentence attracted the attention of others. 10th, is it too high? What about Pig God? Some people asked worriedly. The top 10 S-class heroes are extremely powerful existences. You know, even Flash is only 13. And Tsuyu is about to become the 10th as soon as he comes, isn't it a bit too fast? The middle-aged man looked at Tsuyu's information in his hand, and a sharp edge flashed in his eyes. It's the 10th. If the Pig God has any doubts, let him go to Tsuyu himself. We are only responsible for the statistics and rankings. Don't care. Soon, Tsuyu found Saitama in the lounge. At this moment, Saitama is waiting with great interest. Seeing Tsuyu's arrival, Saitama greeted and smiled. Mr. Tsuyu, what did you guys do? At this time, Saitama didn't know that he and Genos were interviewed by the high level of the Heroes Association. Simply, Tsuyu said it directly. While talking, Genos also walked in slowly, still with a cold look on his face. After listening, Saitama's face started to look weird. Why, I wasn't interviewed. Saitama scratched his head. The stupid Genos froze for a moment, and said, Hey, didn't the teacher interview for this project? Janos rubbed his chin, pretending to think. Maybe the teacher is too powerful, so there is no need for an interview. Hearing such words, Saitama's face turned slightly better. For just a second, Saitama was excited. Is that so? It turns out that I'm so strong that I don't even need an interview. As expected of me. Wakaka. Saitama smiled excitedly. Afterwards, the three of them waited in the lounge for the end of the assessment. During this period, Genos kept looking at Tsuyu. Because, even in the lounge, Tsuyu was still doing push-ups and squats non-stop. Hoo hoo. Su-yu did hundreds of push-ups casually, and then he felt that the cells in his whole body seemed to be opened, absorbing strength vigorously. In just a short time, Su-yu's physical fitness has grown extremely terrifying. If Su-yu had to go all out to smash the strength testing machine before, then now, he doesn't have to go all out. And this is only an improvement in 10 minutes. Sure enough, after the progress bar reached 30%, my strength has also been significantly improved. I don't know. After going out, the progress bar has reached 100%. How terrifying is my promotion? Su-yu even began to look forward to it. 30% increase is already terrifying. If it took Su-yu a month to go from 4 stars to 5 stars before, then with the 30% blessing, Su-yu only needs half a month to do it. As expected of Saitama's ability, it's really terrifying. Su-yu took a breath, and then said, "What? Mr. Su-yu, what are you talking about?" On the opposite side, Saitama and Genos are playing cards enthusiastically. Suddenly, as if he heard something, he turned his head and asked with a smile. Su-yu smiled and said, "It's nothing, I was just thinking, the results should come out soon." Genos looked at the time and said lightly, "Soon, if the guess is correct, it will come out in a minute at the latest." Sure enough, after Genos's voice fell, a staff member walked in, holding 3 sealed documents in his hand, and handed them to Su-yu. After Su-yu took it, he handed them the materials of Saitama and Genos respectively. Genos directly opened the seal. And above the information, there is a big S. Saitama watched from the side with envious eyes. "Genos, you are actually S rank, so amazing." Genos withdrew his information lightly, said, "If it is a master, it must be stronger." "Really?" Saitama opened his profile, only half of it was exposed. Genos' mechanical eyes scanned it. Sure enough, the teacher must be an S rank, but why is the S on the upper part of the teacher bigger than mine? Janos was a little puzzled, but immediately relieved. It must be that the teacher is much stronger than me, so the teacher's S must be bigger. Su-yu at the side couldn't help but twitched his mouth when he heard Genos' words. "Good guy, what a shitty big S, that's exactly C." Sure enough, after Saitama opened, a big C appeared in the sight of the two. The space suddenly became a little silent. The smile on Saitama's face also gradually began to welcome. The people from the Hero Association must have made a mistake, I'll go find them right now. Genos walked directly towards the door, obviously going to trouble the Heroes Association. But fortunately Saitama even held Genos. "Genos, there's no need to be like this. AC level is AC level. After all, he's still a hero." Saitama didn't take it too seriously. Afterwards, Saitama looked at Su-yu and asked, "Mr. Su-yu, what level are you?" At this time, Genos' attention was on Su-yu. "Yeah, what grade will Su-yu be?" Su-yu smiled and opened his profile. On the top, there is also an S that is exactly the same as Genos's. However, beside the S, there are a few more words. 10th. Janos' pupils couldn't help shaking. Brother is actually ranked 10th in the S class. Su-yu narrowed his eyes slightly, staring at the ranking on his profile. The corners of the mouth are slightly raised. Is it ranked 10th? It seems that life in the future will become more exciting. Su-yu knew very well that it was impossible for those group of proud S-level heroes to allow someone without any good record to stand on top of him. So, in the future, I must have someone who will make trouble for me. However, for this, Su-yu is looking forward to it. The skills of these heroes. Soon, the three of Su-yu left the branch of the Heroes Association and returned to Saitama's home. After that, Su-yu began to exercise as usual. Because exercise can not only improve Su-yu's physical fitness, but also increase the progress bar, why not do it? After all, it is still very rare to have so much time to improve yourself. And Su-yu has an intuition. After his hero ranking is exposed, many people will stare at him. Especially the gods who were squeezed out of the top 10 by themselves. On the surface, he looks like a kind and big fat man. But if you are confused by the appearance of the gods, then there is really no salvation. Su-yu never underestimated anyone, but the same. Anyone who underestimates Su-yu will naturally receive a thunderous blow from Su-yu. And Su-yu is getting stronger every moment. The day before, I might be able to break the strength testing machine, but maybe, the next day, Suyu's strength could increase by another 10%. So, those who underestimate Suyu will not end well. And, in this world, there is an association of heroes, but likewise, there is an association of monsters. Those people, once they found out that the Hero Association had given birth to a new S-class hero, that will definitely be staring at yourself. Although, with Saitama beside me, I don't have to worry about anything. However, people always have to rely on themselves. After all, Saitama can't be by his side all the time. Once you meet those top dragons, with Suyu's current combat power, you can't stop them at all. Unless Suyu stepped into the level of a 6-star warrior, relying on the 8 inner gates and temporarily possessing 7-star combat power, he would be able to compete. And now, not even close. Therefore, promotion is necessary. Sudden, Saitama, who was playing a game console, looked out the window lightly. His face was calm. Mr. Suyu. Suyu stopped exercising and looked at Saitama sweating profusely. Teacher, what's the matter? Suyu was a little puzzled, he didn't feel anyone approaching. But suddenly, Suyu's pupils trembled suddenly. The Sharingan of Sangoyu in the eyes turned wildly. Alert Suyu. And at this time, Saitama spoke slowly. Seeing that, Saitama stood up and looked out the window lightly. Outside, it seems that some guy is here, that guy seems to be looking for you. Hearing Saitama's words, Suyu's eyes shook even more. Saitama has already discovered it before he himself has discovered it. As expected of a man without any upper limit. But at the same time, Suyu is also very clear about one thing. The visitor is not good. Suyu looked out the window. All I saw was an extremely obese middle-aged man with a smile on his face. What you hold in your hand is all food. The mouth is constantly wriggling. He looked at Suyu upstairs with a smile on his face. Suyu's eyes narrowed slightly. The person in front of him is the pig god who was ranked 10th before. However, pig god is not too powerful, he can only be counted as a middle-level hero among S-level heroes. However, the ability of the pig god is still very interesting. By eating monsters, you can improve your own strength. It is somewhat similar to that weirdo Wang Dash. However, even so, it is an opponent that should not be underestimated. Especially now Suyu doesn't have the ability to ignore all the heroes in the forbidden area of AA, One Punch. Everything must be treated with care. All I saw was that pig god was smiling while eating. I saw it from the Hero Association. A kid took my place. I was very curious. I took a look today. It doesn't seem to be a big deal. After finishing speaking, pig god ate another big chicken leg. Squinting his eyes, he stared at Suyu beside Saitama. Suyu stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Why, pig god wants to regain his position. Pig god smiled and said. I can't, they are all heroes, and their rankings are all clouds, but. Pig god's voice paused. I cannot care, but it doesn't mean other people don't care. Other people, because of you, have dropped a few rankings, so be careful with them. Pig god smiled and looked at Suyu. Suyu narrowed his eyes slightly, and then said. Thank you pig god, but if those people refuse to accept it, just come to me. Pig god took a deep look at the young man in combat uniform, and smiled. Interesting. Heroes Association, it's been a long time since an interesting young man like you has appeared. Come on. Pig god ate a chicken leg and left slowly. After leaving, the oppression brought by the pig god slowly disappeared. Saitama, who was standing next to Suyu, looked at the pig god's back and murmured. Mr. Suyu, this guy, it seems that he has no hostility. Suyu nodded. Although the pig god is a bit like a monster in ability, he is quite good at acting as a human being. Don't worry. But Saitama changed the subject and pointed to the eaves of a house. People who are hostile to you seem to be there. Suyu's body froze slightly, and he suddenly looked at the position Saitama was pointing at. There was a middle-aged man with yellow hair, protruding muscles and cold eyes. He stared at himself. A name appeared in Suyu's mind. Flash Flash. Hero rank 13. Flash Flash. The 13th ranked terrifying powerhouse among S-level heroes. Suyu's eyes narrowed slightly. Even Suyu didn't expect that the first one to stare at him would be Flash Flash. It stands to reason that the pig god should be the first to stare at him, but the pig god came here just to remind himself, but he didn't follow him. In the end, the one staring at him turned out to be Flashing Flash. On the opposite eve stood a middle-aged man with blonde hair. He has long blonde hair, a blue cross-shaped headdress, a black tights with metal armor, and a white cloak. And he is Flash, who can easily kill 2 dragon-level weirdos in the original book. Although it is only the 13th hero in the S rank, but to be honest, compared with Pig God, Suyu even felt that Flash's combat power was stronger. After all, Flash was the one who could kill 2 dragon-level monsters. In the ninja village founded by Blast, the one who has killed many ninjas is the one who stands out from the crowd. Suyu narrowed his eyes slightly, looking at the middle-aged man in front of him. And Flash looked at Suyu too. Immediately, the eyes of the two began to collide suddenly. Boom. Above the void, there seemed to be a muffled sound that exploded. Afterwards, Suyu withdrew his gaze. Saitama on the side looked at the two of them, a little confused. Mr. Suyu, what are you two doing? Saitama scratched his head and asked. Suyu stepped forward lightly. The expression on his face suddenly became firm. Teacher, didn't you say that he was hostile to me? Saitama nodded. Yeah, my feeling can't be wrong. A smile cracked at the corner of Suyu's mouth, revealing his snow-white teeth. Hey, if that's the case, then give this guy a good punch. It fell with Suyu's voice. Immediately, the 8 inner gates opened directly. Inside the eyes, Sengoyu twirled crazily, looking for Flash's weakness. At the same time, the magic knife 1,000 blades appeared in Suyu's hand in an instant, and 1,000 fragments immediately appeared. Thunder breath. The yellow lightning is blessed on the magic knife 1,000 blades. In an instant, Suyu's body seemed to have turned into a flash of yellow lightning, rushing out instantly. Sonic's speed was also mobilized by Suyu at this moment. The speed, in an instant, surpassed the speed of sound. It even reached twice the speed of sound. After all, just the improvement of physical fitness today has allowed Suyu's speed to be raised to another level. However, facing Flash, Suyu is very clear. The people who can face this speed are Atomic Samurai and Bangu. Nature cannot be underestimated. So, at the very beginning, Suyu directly used all his strength. On the eaves, Flash crossed his arms and looked at the yellow lightning bolts in front of him. Suddenly smile. It turns out that your strength is not limited to the examination level. After the words fell, Suyu's figure instantly appeared in front of Flash. The magic knife with thousands of blades cut open in an instant. Breath of thunder, a one-shaped thunderbolt flash. All around, there seemed to be flashes of thunder. In front of him, the middle-aged man with yellow hair finally drew his sword at this moment. All I saw was a white light flickering out instantly. Flash cut. The white light cut out in an instant. Surrounded by a series of sharp edges, they bloomed in an instant, as if they wanted to cut Suyu in front of him into two. Moreover, the speed of this sword, even if Suyu opened the Sharingan of the three-hook jade, could hardly catch it. But almost, still almost, with the help of Sharingan, he found the location of the falling sword in an instant. Then, Suyu's body twisted slightly. Unexpectedly, it twisted in a strange arc. Under such an arc, Suyu dodged Flash's sword. Meanwhile, the Sharingan was spinning wildly. The copy of Flash's sword was also completed in an instant. Then, in Suyu's attribute bar, a skill suddenly appeared. Flash cut. Without the slightest hesitation, Suyu held the magic knife 1,000 blades, slashed in a flash, and dipped in vinegar instantly. Ong buzz. The white on-like flash bloomed instantly. Kill Flash. Flash's eyes narrowed slightly. Even this S-rank hero didn't expect it. One day, he would be attacked by his own moves. Moreover, this sword, compared with his own, is almost the same. The speed is not bad at all. A trace of surprise flashed in Flash's eyes. His ability, could it be copying? Flash whispered softly. But at the same time, the sharp sword in his hand was the same move without the slightest hesitation. Flash cut. The two of them used flash/slash at the same time. They exploded together in an instant. Clang. The crisp sound exploded. The two sharp swords clashed directly. One white, one black. Just like that fate, the confrontation came together. The crisp sword sound resounded. Afterwards, both of them couldn't help taking a few steps back. However, Flash took 10 steps back. And Suyu just took 7 steps back. From this point, it can be seen that Suyu's strength is clearly above Flash. Power, though, has never been Flash's forte. What Flash is best at is speed. Even on the entire Earth, there are only a few that can compete with Flash's speed. A smirk spread across Flash's face. Very good. Very talented. Are you interested in worshipping me as a teacher? Flash stood on the eaves and looked at Suyu with admiration. Now, it was Suyu's turn to be stunned. What the hell? Take yourself as an apprentice. At this time, Suyu suddenly sounded. It seems that in the comics of One Punch, Flash seemed to want to accept Saitama as an apprentice, but was slapped mercilessly by Saitama. And now, Flash actually took a fancy to him. Although the heart is a little weird. But Suyu still shook his head and said, I have a master. Without the slightest hesitation, Suyu directly rejected this shining Flash. After all, I have a teacher. The existence of Saitama is an existence that no one can surpass in the entire One Punch. Even the arrival of Poros later is not Saitama's opponent. With such a teacher, to be honest, Suyu doesn't look down on anyone else. I'm talking. No matter how strong Flash is, it is only at the peak level of a 6-star warrior. Although this kind of combat power is similar to Suyu, he is not without confidence if he wants to defeat him. Even if you want to learn something. My Sharingan is not just kidding. It was just the time of the confrontation, and I directly learned Flash's Flash Slash. It can be seen how terrifying the Sharingan who has evolved into the 3-Go Jade is. In this regard, Suyu didn't care much about what Flash raised. What apprenticeship or something. Alone is enough. Obviously, Flash didn't know Suyu's inner thoughts, couldn't help frowning slightly, and said in a deep voice. Why? In his opinion, Suyu has an extremely powerful learning ability. If he follows him, he might be able to develop ninjutsu. There is no problem even if you surpass yourself. Suyu smiled lightly, took a look, and was sitting on the balcony, looking at himself and Flash's Saitama with relish. I have a teacher. Flash's gaze landed on Saitama, and his brows frowned even deeper. Is this the guy? What qualifications does he have to be your teacher? Flash was a little puzzled. What can this guy who looks like an ordinary person teach Suyu? But it was heard. Suyu's faint laughter resounded. Try it yourself, don't you know? There was a hint of a smile in Suyu's voice. Flash couldn't help frowning, and then looked at Saitama's position. The yellow hair was blowing gently with the breeze. Suddenly, a fallen leaf falls gently. Then, between the sky and the earth, there seemed to be a yellow lightning bolt. The speed of the lightning was extremely fast, even less than a breath, the yellow lightning burst out directly. At the same time, the 3-hook jade in Suyu's eyes also turned instantly. Copy ability, directly open. If it can be copied to Flash's speed, then Sonic's harassment in the future will not be a threat to Suyu. Although the current Sonic is not a threat to Suyu. But don't forget, Sonic will devour monster cells in the future, and Sonic's strength will be greatly increased by then. Therefore, once Flash's ability is copied, his combat power can be greatly improved. Looking at the yellow lightning between the sky and the earth, the lightning spanned between the houses. Packed with ultimate speed. After all, it is still Flash. The speed seems to be vaguely 3 times the speed of sound. Compared with Suyu's speed, he was even a little stronger. The moment Flash ran towards Saitama, Saitama suddenly raised his head. A pair of innocent eyes, quietly looking at Flash. Excuse me, what's the matter? It was a faint voice, but it made the hairs all over Flash's body stand on end. Without the slightest hesitation, Flash's position changed directly, and he came to another eaves, looking at Saitama with a solemn expression. Seems to be thinking about something. At this time, Saitama also slowly stood up, staring at Flash, motionless. How is it possible? Even Bangu and the others may not be able to keep up with my speed. How can an ordinary sea-level hero see through my speed? At this moment, Flash's eyes were full of surprise. Unexpectedly, a small sea-level hero could directly see through his own speed. This is unavoidable, a little too strange. It must be a coincidence. Flash comforted himself in his heart, but his eyes still couldn't help becoming a little dignified. Afterwards, Flash's body turned into a yellow bolt of lightning again, rushing over in an instant like a white horse passing through the gap. This time, the speed even has a level of 4 times the speed of sound. It can be seen that Flash has pushed his speed to ultimate. Although he comforted himself that it must be a coincidence or something, in fact, at this moment, Flash no longer had any contempt in his heart. On the contrary, his heart was filled with a high-spirited fighting spirit. You know, Flash is a real sword idiot and martial idiot. This is about the same as Geno's Sonic. On the other side, Suyu slightly narrowed his eyes. At this moment, in the attribute column, there is a speed of Flash. At this moment, the replication was finally successful. A trace of a smile was drawn on the corner of Suyu's mouth. Perfect. After copying Flash's speed, Suyu could clearly feel that his own speed had changed drastically. Such a change is a qualitative leap. This is called the fastest man. Sure enough, it is still so powerful. In this regard, Suyu is quite satisfied. If I were to fight Flash again now, the winner would definitely be Suyu. After all, Suyu at this moment has not only suppressed Flash in terms of strength, but also can tie with Flash in terms of speed. It can be said that Flash has already begun to be suppressed. On the attribute bar, the progress bar for breaking the limit ability also slowly increased by 2 points. 33%. At this moment, Suyu couldn't help but began to become joyful. Not only his own strength has been improved, but even the progress bar has begun to improve. This is obviously what Suyu wants to see. On the other side, the yellow lightning that Flash turned into had madly killed Saitama. The silver long sword slashed a series of white ons in the air. The white glow fell like lightning. Ultimate speed, at this moment, is driven to ultimate. Fell suddenly. It's still. Flash slash. Saitama raised his head slightly, watching all this lightly. Then, the right fist began to be raised slowly. In an instant, the space around Saitama's fist began to distort. There seemed to be extremely terrifying energy, which began to burst out from Saitama's fist. The terrifying power seemed to tear everything apart. At this moment, the hairs all over Flash's body stood straight up. Every cell in the body seems to be warning Flash. This made Flash feel a little bit of horror in his heart. How could it be possible? This power, why even I feel fear. Is this the power that AC rank hero can possess? Flash couldn't help swallowing. With a thought, the silver long sword collided with Saitama's fist. Boom! A terrifying force burst out from Saitama's fist. In an instant, the silver long sword began to break inch by inch. Suyu looked at all this without any disturbance in his heart. There is no one in one punch who can match Saitama's one punch. Not to mention a small long sword. Even more impossible to withstand Saitama's punch. Say, the one who can withstand Saitama's punch seems to be Sonic's balls. That is the hardest thing in one punch. After being beaten so many times, it was still intact. That's the real bullshit. Accompanied by a bang. Flash's body directly turned into a stream of light, and smashed fiercely towards the distance. Along the way, many buildings were smashed. Saitama looked at the messy house behind him, and immediately shouted. Ah, my house. Cleaning again. The corner of Suyu's mouth twitched slightly, and he also returned to the house. As for Flash, Suyu didn't have time to pay attention to it. Anyway, it is impossible for Saitama to kill him, at most it is just a matter of recuperating for a few days. An hour later, the two of them cleaned up the messy house again. At this time, Saitama asked. By the way, Mr. Suyu, those people, why did they come to you? Suyu said with a smile. It may be because of the ranking. My appearance has lowered their ranking, so I came here. Saitama nodded as if he understood. I see. It seems that a higher level is not a good thing. Doesn't that mean that I am AC level hero? Very good. Saitama showed a happy expression. Suyu. AA. Good guy. Saitama's brain circuit is still so strange. Shit, grade C is good. But according to what happened to Suyu, it seems that it is really the best for Saitama, who likes to be a salted fish. In this regard, Suyu could only shake his head helplessly. At this time, the door was opened. Genos appeared in the field of vision of the two. Teacher, brother, Genos said still arrogantly. Genos, you're here. Saitama said with a smile on his face. Genos nodded, then sat opposite Suyu, looking at Suyu with shining eyes. Brother, the people just now, but Pig God and Flash. They came to look for you. Suyu nodded without denying it. Genos's eyes shone brightly. Brother repelled them. Suyu shook his head and said. The Pig God didn't make a move, and it wasn't me who repelled Flash, but the teacher who repelled him. Genos froze for a moment, and said seriously. If it's Saitama-sensei, then there's nothing strange about it. Hearing these words, Suyu's expression became a little weird. Would it be strange if the co-authors repelled it by themselves? Looking at Genos, Suyu didn't know why, and wanted to beat Genos. Afterwards, Suyu stood up, looked at Genos, and said, Janos, let's compete. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.